It's almost here. FA Cup semi-final is almost on us. Aston Villa or Crystal Palace versus Aston Villa at Wembley. What a game it is set to be. And we could be seeing us get into an FA Cup final. Hopefully, getting that piece of silverware finally in the cabinet for Aston Villa, something that us fans really do deserve. I think the team deserves from being in the Championship 6 years ago, the turnaround under Unai Emery. Unai Emery deserves the silverware. Can we do it this year? No FA Cup win since 1957. Is this year our year? Kev will be joining me very shortly, but I couldn't leave you guys waiting any longer. Make sure you smash the like button and hit that subscribe button. We have moved past 5,500 subscribers today. So thank you all for your support. Help us hit 6K. We're on the road to 6K, so you guys can help us get there by liking and subscribing and getting your comments flowing. I've seen all sorts of in the chat at the minute. I've seen good evenings. I've seen talk of the Eubank Ben fight, which is tomorrow as well. So everything is going this weekend. Good evening to you, Lewis, Matty as well. Good evening to you, mate. Sai ABFC's in the chat as well. Good evening to you. Yeah, all talking about. I don't know if we get into Eubank's middleweight at the minute. I think we're probably looking at more heavyweights. Certainly myself, anyway. James, good evening to you, and Zristas as well. Good evening to you, and Stephen. Great to see you in the chat. So we're going to get into everything. We're going to talk Aston Villa. We're going to talk Crystal Palace. Obviously, it's a dangerous team, dangerous game. They've had the better of us for numerous games this season, certainly. And, you know, they've always caused us problems over the years. And Glasner does very well against Unai Emery. So it's going to be a really difficult game, and they have players who can really hurt us. And they're playing pretty well at the minute. I think they're a bit up and down in terms of form, in terms of performances, but certainly their last game, they certainly did. They certainly did very well against Arsenal. So we're going to get right into that. We're going to talk the route to the semi-final. Who's had the toughest route? Who will be going into it with a little bit more confidence? And yeah, just we'll obviously get starting lineups. We'll talk about Martin's starting lineup. That's certainly getting the conversation going on X. If you haven't seen it already, we'll get into that here, and we'll talk our starting lineups, and of course we will get our predictions in, and we'll get your guys' predictions in. If you want to ask us questions, please do put it in the chat. If you want to send us a super chat, if you want to become a member as well, click the join button, click the donate button, and help support the channel. Well, let's bring him in. Ghosting in at the far post, which we hope Daniel Marlon, Ollie Watkins, Marcus Rashford might do tomorrow. Kevin Tyler, how you doing, mate?
Do you reckon Marlon, Rashford and Watkins will have to deal with slightly naughty two kids as they go to the back post who say they're going to go to bed, and then all of a sudden they need to have a poo, and I realise they've had swimming today at Holiday Club, so they need to have a shower, and then they fight about who's using the towel. Or do you think they'll just be able to concentrate on the FA Cup semi-final? Anyway, yeah, it's all good fun. It's all good fun, mate. I'm all good. I'm alive.
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? Because you think they'll obviously be in the hotel, but you know, if it would have been a normal home game, would they have to deal with the kids? You know, putting them to bed, fighting.
I know.
My son, all of a sudden, he's too hot. He can't get down from his bunk bed to open the window, so he needs his dad to do it. He can't go to the toilet and get a flannel if he's cold flannel. If he's hot, he needs his dad to do it. And this all happens at 10:30 or 11:15, and not ready before he gets to bed. But yeah, I think we all have to cope with that, don't we?
It's funny the way you said that then, because it's almost as if you're not his dad. As if his dad has to, you have to ring his real dad to come round to open the window. Brilliant. We're getting a bit distracted here. FA Cup semi-final.
It is.
Yeah.
It's very, very exciting times. I'm heading down early in the morning, about 6:30 in the morning. I'll be driving down with some of the boys, so I can't wait for it. And yeah, Kev, I mean, I've just talked in the build-up there. 1957, the last time we won the FA Cup. 6-7 years ago. I don't mind using this at the moment. I hate it when we try and rationalise Aston Villa's demise in the Premier League if we've lost a game. But now I can say 6 years or so since we were in the Championship. You know, Steven Gerrard, when he left or got sacked, was 17th, 16th in the table. Unai Emery takes over. What a reward for sort of the progress that Aston Villa have made in the last 3 or 4 years under his tutelage. You know, you talk about the likes of John McGinn, Tyrone Mings being with us through the Championship years. To get some silverware in the cabinet would be absolutely amazing, wouldn't it?
It really would be. And this is the one for me growing up. You know, my old man who, you know, lost him nearly 20 years ago now. But hello, Mighty Mag. Thanks for joining, mate. He always used to tell me the most important one was the FA Cup. I think back in the day, particularly the kind of the prestige and the importance of the FA Cup seems to have been lost a little bit in recent years. But to true football fans, you know, I think they know how good it is now. I've often joked, you know, that I didn't know the FA Cup went on this long. But, you know, when you get to the 4th round, that's heady heights for Villa in the recent years. To get to the 5th, the quarters, all of a sudden, you're in a situation now where you've got a Wembley trip. And as I say, like, you know, it was something for me that, I mean, just think, Richard, right? When we were born, I think you were a few months before me, 1980, right? Mm-hmm. It'd only been 23 years since we'd won the FA Cup. Now, to put that in context, that's like going back to 2002. Right now, that's going to make you feel old, right? But I do that. Yeah. I don't do it to make you feel old. I think that actually we talk about the last time we won a trophy, and that's going back 1996. That's 29 years. So it's been 6 years longer than when we were born to when we won the FA Cup. And if you'd imagine asking all the Villa fans who were aware, who were cognizant of the FA Cup win in 57, whether we would have not won it in the next, nearly 70 years, they would have said you're absolutely having a laugh. And, you know, I saw a memory come up the other day of me meeting Peter McParland about, did he turn 91 recently, did he? I met him when he was, I think he was early 90s. He was celebrating a birthday recently, was announced, I think. And
right.
he was late 70s when I met him, obviously the hero of 57.
Yeah.
To think that since then, we've obviously had a few League Cup wins. We've had unbelievably, obviously, winning the league in 81 and the European Cup in 82. But proper prestigious silverware, this team have got the chance to make themselves Aston Villa legends in the oldest, 91 today, cheers, Mike, in the oldest cup competition in the world. And it just feels like it's our time, doesn't it? So I'm super excited. I'm not going to be there. I couldn't get a ticket, and then, as you know, I'm going to the World Snooker tomorrow. Everybody, I'm going to be watching Mark Williams against Hassan Vafai. But I will be in a pub in Sheffield at about 5 o'clock. Looking forward to it. Gutted to not be there. Gutted to not go to the game, but I just hope that we perform like I know we can perform and get ourselves that cup final that I think the fans deserve. I think the team deserve. I think Unai deserves, and you know, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. But yeah, we've got to get rid of Palace first.
Absolutely. Someone in the comments, I'll just try and find it now. And it came to me, Bear in the Garden said, after the midweek, this is now of increased importance. Now, I know how important the FA Cup semi-final is anyway. I think for context, you know, getting in, I think this, if we get to the final, if we win this game, it pretty much guarantees us Europa League football with regards to the other two teams that are in the semi-final and where we are in terms of the league at the moment. But it's a shame, isn't it, that we had that game on Tuesday night, because it's almost like the performance and the manner of the victory against Newcastle has kind of been forgotten. Like, we absolutely battered Newcastle and schooled them. Sorry, Mighty Mag in the chat. But we only had like 2 days to bask in that glory. I mean, I only had a couple of days walking around Newcastle in my Villa shirt, and then all of a sudden it was back down to earth with a bump, and everyone's all like, well, Villa's top 5 chances have all but gone now because they conceded a last-minute goal against Man City. So do you think the players, first of all, like, that's your reaction to that in terms of, you know, how quickly football moves on? But secondly, do you think the players will be kind of really itching to sort of get back into that momentum that they were and get a win in the FA Cup to kind of, you know, keep, like I say, keep that momentum going for the rest of the season and obviously give us a real chance of silverware?
Well, first of all, the Newcastle one, obviously I didn't do the post match. Sorry, the Man City one. I did the post match for Newcastle, I think, but I didn't do the Man City one because I was at the Etihad, as you know.
Yes.
Took my daughter for her first ever away game, school holidays. My lad's been to a few with me. Not always seen wins, but, you know, he was there for the absolute limbs for Bertrand Traoré, where you were there as well,
Yeah.
which pretty much kind of not cemented us, but, you know, gave us a great chance of Conference League that season. What an occasion. Obviously, great ground, great experience, but I was so disappointed. You know, I was wearing my kids had the kits on. I was carrying the as you always do as a parent, as everyone knows, being a parent is just carrying things, isn't it? Right. So I was carrying the Villa bag, you know, proudly marching towards the Etihad, thinking we're a proper team, and a little bit not embarrassed, not ashamed, but a little bit sad at the end of the match as I was dashing back to the car that we didn't perform like I know we can perform. And I thought we were too respectful of them. I know you can't go gung-ho and open up and then end up getting battered 3 or 4-0, but that team is not what it was. However, I put a tweet out afterwards saying we need to be calm, Villa fans, because if you look at across a 12-game period, we've won 10 of those matches after being wildly inconsistent before that. And of those 2 matches we've lost, one was away to PSG, everyone's favourites for the Champions League, and one was away to the 4 times and still current Premier League champions, 4 times consecutive Manchester City, who are in with a shout this season of finishing probably 3rd in the league, possibly 2nd, looking at Arsenal's running. Who knows? But, you know, looking good for 3rd. And like they've got a really good chance for the FA Cup as well. Let's not beat around the bush. We have to look at that and go, you know what? Come on now. Like, we've won all the other matches. And I think this team now, I think they'll put it behind them, no problem at all. I think they'll move on from it. And I think they've got the character. I think they've got the professionalism. And I also think they've got the right kind of desire and belief to know, to not look a gift horse in the mouth, basically. This is a huge opportunity. There's been players at this club since Championship days, first season in the Premier League. We're talking the Mings and McGinns and Jacob Ramsey's from Championship. We're talking the likes of Matty Cash and Ezri Konsa and Emi Martinez, you know, who have been there from the early days, obviously, of us getting back to this top league. And then you've got the new ones that might not even be here for a few more months. But all of them know how important it is. You've got winners like Rashford and Asensio joining the team. And you've got players that have I think, are starting to believe that they can be winners, like a Cash, like a Konsa, like a Watkins. But this is the time to shine. And I really do back this team tomorrow. I'll be absolutely amazed. You know, anything can happen on the day. Palace are a really good side, some real firepower. And we've seen us struggle against them in the past a few times. But I'll be amazed if we didn't put a performance in tomorrow. I'll be amazed if we weren't up for it. And I'll be amazed if we didn't win it, really, based on just the level of confidence I've got on this team when they need to perform.
Yeah. I agree. And like you say, I was thinking about this today. I was like, you know, I was watching the Loaded Mag boys yesterday because I couldn't go on their sort of Race for Europe show because I was out with family and stuff. And I wish I'd have gone on because I was watching them and they were like, yeah, you know, Villa are done now with the top 5. It's all over. It's pretty much done. And then they were going through the fixtures. Like, well, you know, Villa win this and then so-and-so lose this. And then Villa are back to 60 points. And I was thinking, I thought exactly the same as you. I was like, And because you know, obviously every game you play in the Premier League can be a tough game, and they're saying, "Oh, I don't know if Villa will even beat Fulham at home. I don't know. You know, Bournemouth away is like a really tricky game for them. Like, while negating the fact that they had to play Chelsea or they had to play Arsenal or someone like that. It's like, and then I thought, well, Villa have lost 2 games before they lost to Man City. Was it then? Would that taken the run to 11 wins from 12 games or something stupid like that?
It would have, yeah. It would have.
Yeah,
It would have
so
11
that's 11 wins from 12 games. And then so that you lose against Man City. So that's
Man
11
City
wins away. Sorry. Yeah, 11 wins from 13 games. The 2 defeats, as you said, were PSG away and Man City away. It's like,
not bad, is it?
And all of a sudden now Villa are just, we'll just discount them. They're no good now.
Well, so, I mean,
yeah.
If you think about the run of results, right? This is the thing I think, you know, that obviously we'd been wildly inconsistent, hadn't we? You know, we'd had loads of problems. If you looked at our run of results and said, right, okay, we've obviously had a bit of a disappointing result against Crystal Palace, wasn't it? After that,
if you go back, if you went back to, we said it the other day, if you went back to after the Wolves game, so even including that Crystal Palace game, if you were to go through all the fixtures in that run of like 15, 16, 17 games, it's only what, 3 defeats now or something?
Well, yeah, I mean, again, if you said it after, I think I said this on a pod recently, the disappointment that we all have had about that performance against Wolves, and obviously, you know, Saturday night ruined. We then beat Spurs in the FA Cup after that. Disappointing draw against Ipswich. Here we go again. Great draw against Liverpool at home. Beat Chelsea in the Premier League. Wow. Then we have the Palace aberration. And then if we'd have said, right, Villa fans, imagine it was now we're saying, right, we've got to play Cardiff in the FA Cup at home. We've got to play Bruges Champions League away. Then we got Brentford away. Then we got Bruges at home, the Champions League. Then we got Preston away in the FA Cup because we're going to win the Cardiff one. Then we got Brighton away, Forest at home, PSG away, Southampton away, PSG at home, Newcastle, Man City. If I'd have said the only 2 will lose would be Man City and PSG, every single Villa fan would have ripped my limbs off to get those results. And I look at Fulham. It's Fulham, Man United, Spurs, and Bournemouth, isn't it? We've got
Fulham, Bournemouth, Fulham at home, Bournemouth away, Tottenham at home, Man United away, and obviously an FA Cup final in between there as well.
Yeah, I am really confident that the minimum will get is 10 points. That's what I think. Whether that's enough remains to be seen, right? But I'm really confident. I can't see us not beating Man United if we need to. Same with Spurs at home, same with Fulham at home. Bournemouth away is the one that worries me. I know Spurs we've had challenges with. I know Man United away is never an easy game, but that's just how I feel about it, right?
Yeah.
I look at the running of the other teams, Man City aside, and I just think, you know what? It ain't going to be because you've lost to Man City that it's gone. Not at all. There'll be more twists and turns. All we've got to do is just win the games that we should be winning, and it's in our hands. And guarantee this team, we've got 4 games in the league, and maybe another 2. It definitely got 5 games left, maybe 6 games left. With the squad we've got, with the rotation that he's done, I think we can handle him. I think we can finish this season strong, and I'm still backing this team to win the FA Cup and to finish in a top 5 Champions League position.
Yeah. Let's go into some comments. Dream Villa said, we've been the nearly team for so long. Now it's our time to start shining. Sai says, losing semi-finals are worse than losing finals in his experience. Gary says, look, we'll lose to City in the final, but we can't have everything. Lewis says, how the hell did you get tickets for the snooker, Kev? He's very jealous.
My mate sorted it out about a year ago. I forgot all about it. Didn't ever think it would clash with an FA Cup match in April because we don't normally enter, do we, the FA Cup?
John, the belching guy says, Man City in the final, we will beat them. Dristos says, we need to play with passion, concentration, and energy. Just don't overthink things and play timid. We need to go and get the game, not just play it.
Yeah.
Agreed. Being that kind of season for me, says Gary, if it wasn't for Rash and Asensio coming, we'd be in mid-table and out of everything. Well, look, it's a good job we got them in. Yeah, great transfers. And Kevin says, same team as we picked against Newcastle. Come on, Emery, make it so. AVFC says, the 4-1 in Feb was closer than the score suggested. Ollie had one ruled offside at 0-0 when it wasn't. Ramsey had a Stonewall penalty waved away at 1-1-2.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Mighty Max says he honestly sees us winning tomorrow. Villa in the final. Good man. I like it a lot. And who else is in the chat? Bournemouth away is tough but winnable. The other 3 on form he ought to win. And yeah, Dream Villa said the other 2 defeats were only narrow defeats as well. That's the thing. Gary Martinez needs to get his head in gear and win us a game for a change. Well, hopefully he has a quiet one tomorrow, but just doesn't let the first shot on target in. Rich, evening all. Hope you're well. Please like and subscribe. Good man. Costs nothing. Helps the channel and that gives you great content.
Cheers, Rich.
The Villa. Massive thanks to you. Massive thanks to you, Rich. So let's talk Palace, because as a few people in the chat have been saying, they are a bit of a bogey side for us, and the manager is a bit of a bogey sort of manager for Unai Emery, isn't he? He's not. I don't think he's beaten him yet. His name's just escaped me.
Oliver Glasner.
Oliver Glasner, that's it. Glasner. He's been a bit of a bogey manager for Unai, and I think Unai sort of thought into it a bit too deep the last time they played, didn't he? Tried to out-tactic. He tried to out-Glasner, Oliver Glasner. But what do you see the main threats of Crystal Palace offering Aston Villa?
Eberici Eze, Adam Wharton, Jean-Philippe Mateta. Jean-Philippe, isn't it? Jean-Philippe Mateta. Sarr, Ismaila Sarr, whether it's Watford. If he's wearing some kind of yellowish shirt at times, he's Palace away or Watford at home, he generally batters us. They got a lot of good attributes, a lot of good players. They got some, decent defenders, keepers decent. They're a decent team. I know, there's been some quite derogatory comments about Palace, and look, they're below us in the league. We're a better team than them. We should win. But for those who haven't seen the stats, I think this is from what I remember from the stats. Other than I know when they had, I think Frank de Boer a few years ago, they lost 4, didn't they, on the bounce from the start of the Premier League season, and he got sacked.
Yeah.
But I think this season after 10 games was the worst start they'd ever had in the Premier League. Bear in mind they had such an amazing end to last season, and then if you imagine they've had the worst start that they've ever had in the Premier League, and now I think they've got. Well, up until about a game or 2 ago, they'd had the best points total they'd ever had in the Premier League by this stage. So that shows you in the last 20 or so games how good they've been and how consistent they've been. And yeah, I do genuinely think it was a little bit of an unlucky 4-1 that VAR, the disallowed goal, etc. But if you look back to previous ones, obviously I know we'd already qualified for the Champions League, but it's still pretty embarrassing to lose 5-0. They were flying at the time. Even the game when obviously Duran scored that worldie, I think we were 1 down. If I remember, I was at the game at Villa Park for it. We were 1 down with about maybe 2 or 3 minutes to go. Scored 3 really late goals. I remember a bad one under Gerrard, I think when we lost early in the season to Palace away. So, it's not been a particularly great team for us, particularly away from home. Does the neutral venue help? Maybe it does, but they're no mugs, this team. And I think that Unai will definitely not make the same mistake again.
Yeah.
I think he'll probably stick to what he knows that works well, and I think he'll try and make sure that we're the ones that are dictating the play.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll fall into the same trap.
No, I don't think so either. It's just they've got, like you talked about there, the players. Wharton, top class player. Eberici is a top class player. Mateta on his game, strong, clever, good finisher, can score from outside the box, can score from inside the box. Sarr with great pace. Like, they've got so many good players. Muniz at right back. Why have they been so wildly inconsistent? Like you said, yeah, fair enough, like a roller coaster season, but even during some games, like, you think, how are they conceding those goals with the quality of player that they've got? Where is it that they're weak? Because Gay is not slow.
No.
Like, is it just purely on the basis of the formation that he likes to continue to play, like that 3-4-3 formation? Does that have holes in it where, say if the fullback pushes on too much and you can get in behind, or do they have lapses in concentration? Do they have a lack of pace in certain areas? Like, where is it that they are? Where is it that they are beatable and they've made these mistakes? Because they have lost games or not won games that you think they should be winning. I mean, they drew against Southampton. So where is it that they have these weaknesses?
I just think that they're like a lot of these teams that are on their day. there's slightly better versions of them. And I think the league's really interesting at the moment. There's
Mm.
it's almost like there's 5 leagues. You've
Mm.
kind of got Arsenal, Liverpool at the top, although that gap's got a bit smaller with Arsenal. Then you've got the Champions League chasers. Then you've got your Bournemouths, your Brentfords, your Fulhams, your Brightons, those types. Then you've got your rest of your ones that are your West Ham's, Man United, and Spurs. And then you've got your bottom 3 that are cut adrift. And I think they're one of those ones that, on their day, they could beat anyone in the league. But if you look at the weaknesses as you ask the question, it's that look at their team recently. Lacroix's decent, Lerma's decent, Kamara's decent, Devaney's decent. All these players they've got, but they're not Kamara. They're not Rashford. They're not top level players. They've got some really handy players. They've got some dangerous weapons. I think he's a really good manager. He's done really well. He's turned it around from a bit of a difficult start last season and this season. But they're not top elite players. They're not used to playing this level of game as well, this magnitude of game. We have to look at the fact that in recent times, a lot of this crop of players, if they're new signings like an Asensio or Rashford, well, Rashford's won big trophies, FA Cups, etc., etc. I think he's been in Europa League final, I think, with Man United as well. He's played in big games, played big games for England in international tournaments. Asensio's won 3 Champions Leagues and a hatful of trophies everywhere. But even the ones that have been with Villa for a bit, they've played in some big games. European semi-final last season, European quarter-final Champions League this season, big nights against Bayern Munich, Juventus, and the magnitude of the occasion. This team, I think, are used to playing big games, and I actually think they probably won't be as overawed as maybe Palace might be. You go to Wembley for the first time in a game like this, even as an Adam Waterman or an Eze, and you're going to be thinking, crikey, whether you've played there before for England or whatever, but you're going to be thinking, this means something to our fans, and I'm hoping that is the one thing that Villa might have a bit more experience in recent times in these big matches.
Yeah, I make you right. Obviously they are where they are in the league for a reason. Yes, they had a bad start, but they've ultimately, there's been games where they haven't quite fancied it. They haven't quite been at the races. I think Gary mentioned in the chat, like, if we score first, then I think we do kind of go on to kind of win quite well. I think, I certainly don't think Crystal Palace will put up the same job they did against Newcastle, where they just capitulated. But I do think they have that in them, where if they do go a goal down, they find it maybe quite difficult to get back into it and leave holes at the back that you can exploit, which many teams do. What you can't let them do is, like Standing on the Word says, they're a physically powerful side, and our players have to show the strength as well as the skill. And I think that's what you're kind of intimating in the fact that Kamara, Tielemans, McGinn, whoever plays in midfield, Wharton's a fantastic player, but, Will Hughes, with all due respect, or Lerma, with all due respect, Kamara, Onana, Tielemans are better midfielders than them. But you have to compete physically first, and you have to win the physical battle first to allow your skill and your ability, your superior skill and superior ability, to shine through. And that's what Aston Villa need to make sure that they do. Compete first, win the physical battle, and then they can let their football do the talking.
Yeah, interesting thing, actually. Gary's most recent comment, Pardew saying Palace are all in for this game. Now the league position is safe. Okay, they are. But for Villa, we're fighting for Champions League. We're fighting for, Europa League if it's not Champions League. But with Palace's league position being safe, great. But, if you look at April, they drew away at Southampton. Yeah, they beat Brighton 2-1. Got battered by Man City in the end. I know they could have been 3 up, but they lost 5-2, which is a bit of a capitulation. Then they lost 5-0 to Newcastle. Then they drew at home to Bournemouth, and obviously they got a good draw against Arsenal. But they've only won 1 game out of 6 there. It's not great form, really, going into it. And that's not an ideal scenario. So, there may well be all-in parts for this game, but, it's not fantastic form to go into a game of this.
Well, you'd expect them to be all in for it. Like, what is he intimating, that Villa aren't going to be as bothered about it? Like, I don't know what that means. Yeah, of course he is, but I mean, what else would you expect? Is he expecting to be like 75% in and 25%?
Yeah.
But like, I don't know what he means by that. It doesn't mean anything, that comment.
Yeah, he's I mean, look, Villa, if you look at the form, as we said, Man City and PSG aside, our form's absolutely fantastic, sparkling, one of the best in Europe.
Yeah. Well, let's talk Villa now. Before we get Martin's predicted lineup on the screen and sort of get your comments on the predicted lineup, how do you think Villa need to approach this? How do you think Unai approaches this? There's been a lot of talk about, the Wembley pitch and how wide it is, how big it is, and they're going to make the pitch as big as possible. I don't think it's actually as wide as Villa's pitch, to be honest. I think or it's only just a little bit wider, maybe.
It's a myth, isn't it? It's a myth.
Yeah,
We almost assume that
yeah.
that Villa's pitch is like when I watch my daughter playing 7-a-side on a leisure
Yeah.
centre, halfway across the pitch.
Yeah,
When
and then as soon as you see Wembley, it's like like the biggest field. But yeah, but how do you think Unai approaches it? Are we going to go cagey first? Are we going to go all out? What do you think?
I'm expecting a confident start. I think that he needs to pick the right kind of personnel. Clear example for that would be you look at their threats. Yeah, okay, you can say let's look at our threats, but when you've got Mateta, I'd rather have Tyrone rather than Pau. Love what he offers a team. I think if Tyrone was in a team, I think we would have got away with 1-1 draw, possibly against Man City, because hindsight's a beautiful thing, right? But I think the physicality of Mateta will cause Pau some big problems. I could just see him, bouncing off him at times.
Well, he's done it already, hasn't he? He's had that. He's had it played against him a couple of times, and he's not done very well against him.
And now Mings is fit. You'd think this would be a game for him. So I think I want to see that. I want to see us also having a go at their fullbacks. So therefore, I think what better options have you got than obviously Rashford, Rodgers, maybe a Jacob Ramsey, maybe a Daniel Marlon, but I don't expect him to start based on what we've seen so far from Unai. But I want to play to our strengths. I do think I want to see Watkins in the team. I think he's, as a focal point, I think we chomping at the bit. I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't, based on what's happened lately. But I want us to go strong, but I do expect us to start confidently. I don't expect us to be cagey. Maybe the occasion will get to us, but I just want us to do what we do well, to move the ball, to create space, to try and get our passing going, and to get at them. If you think about the last couple of games as well, we scored after 33, 34 seconds against Newcastle. We should have scored after about 18 against Man City. So that fast start might well be coming back. It would be unbelievable for us to get an early goal against Palace at Wembley. And we know
Yuri Tillemans didn't he, for Leicester in the final? Didn't he? Did he get? Was it quite early?
I don't think it was early, was it?
Oh, was it? I can't remember. I can't remember.
But
he sort of cracking goal. Yeah, it might have been later on. Yeah, someone in the chat will tell me.
Yeah, it was. It was fantastic. We have never seen him do that for us, have we?
No. Well, he scored a good one against Sheffield United, I believe.
Yeah, but we could all score against Sheffield United.
Yeah, I know. Yeah,
that's decent.
Lewis says Villa are going to go and batter them, and Kevin says hopefully, of course, we are. Rich says we have the depth of squad to change things up, players that can have a huge impact. Few people talking about who to play up front. Gary has got to play Watkins and Rashford. Lewis says, I do not want to see Pau on the pitch. Kevin, definitely start Watkins. Gary, Rashford, I'm not too bothered, but you can come off the bench. Standing on the word says, we've got to play Mings. Sai says, Mings in for Mateta and Matson to go against Sarr. Who exactly is Pau a good matchup for? Seems like every game he doesn't quite suit the opposition. Mings to start. Yeah.
I think if you get a really physical forward, a Chris Wood, a Mateta type player. There's not loads of those in the league, is there? But someone who's really, really like a bit of a battering ram, that kind of striker. Pau is physical, Pau is not. He's not lightweight, is he? He does get stuck in, but he's just not quite Tyrone Mings' level, is he?
Yeah, if it's like you say, if it's a battering ram type striker, is not great. If they're playing a different type of striker and they've got, say, maybe two wide men, and he can maybe be the spare man who takes the ball out, brings the ball out, and we're going to keep possession. He's excellent in that. But I would say he probably hasn't had I know he's been out with injury and stuff, but he probably hasn't had as good a season as as we would have liked him to have. I don't think he's been quite at the levels that we'd have liked him to be. Adam said he's a centre half that doesn't centre half. Well, I love the way he plays the game, but he wouldn't be my type of centre back. Mings is my type of centre back, like a 100%, like head it, kick it, put your body in where it hurts. That's. I always also feel a little bit wary of Torres with his communication with Martinez. I'm not sure why they don't seem to be necessarily always on the same wavelength. Like they seem to be a bit hesitant with each other when the ball goes in the box.
Well, if you look at PSG at home and you look at Man City at the last minute, I mean, I think Martinez was fought for both goals actually.
Yeah, but also Brighton, they had that goal disallowed, and it was like, and Pau Torres was in the box then. Like I don't know what it is about the communication with them two. Yeah, something there. Something there. John, Marlon has to start. He's been shortchanged with the Champions League. Mings to body. Mateta, says Kevin. And just gotta hope Palace don't get play to get one of our sent-offs, says Dream Villain. Gary says Barkley won't be happy on the bench. He might be gone in the summer. Yeah, see his face. Still only 24 likes on YouTube, people. We've got almost 200 watching across X and YouTube, so there must be more. Please do smash the like button and hit the subscribe button. We've passed 5,500 subscribers today, so that is an amazing achievement. Thank you very much for your support, but we don't want to stop there. We want to hit 6K as soon as possible, so liking and subscribing. Oh, we're up to 34 now. Let's get at least 50 though. Come on, let's get at least 50 likes tonight. That would be brilliant. So let's get Martin's starting lineup up. We've had Alan McAnally commenting on this starting lineup. It has caused a massive stir on X. Let me know your thoughts on this one, though, Kev.
Yeah, I mean, I quite like it, to be honest. I do. I think Maatsen, as we've had in the comments, is a really good option. Sala's obviously quite dangerous. We discussed Mings. I do like Kamara and Tielemans together there. Tielemans, I do prefer that rather than in that Rodgers role a bit further forward. Yeah, I mean, I like Rashford on the left. Unai doesn't seem to like it, though. And I like Marlon on the right. But Unai doesn't seem to like that from the start either. What I think will probably happen, I imagine it will be a Ramsey on the left. That's what I expect to happen. I've also got a feeling that Onana might start, potentially. If you're looking at the power they've got in midfield. But I actually really like that lineup. I wouldn't be disappointed.
Did you say McGinn as well?
I didn't say McGinn, to be fair. Actually, that's do you know what? I've done it again. We've got such a great squad now that I've forgotten our captain.
Because McGinn will start. That's the point, isn't it? McGinn will start.
Yeah. So where's he starting in that team there?
It's got to be in. I don't think Marlon starts.
He's probably McGinn, isn't it, on the right? Maybe. Yeah, probably is. Yeah. So,
but I'm saying in the middle, Rodgers off the right.
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm happy with that team. But the thing is, we could pick 20 teams that all of us would be happy with. So I don't think it's it's a massive problem we've got right now. I think actually looking at that team, what's the more important question? The team that starts the game or the team that finishes the game?
Well, this is what I've been saying for weeks. I've been saying this for weeks. We get hung up on the starting lineup. And I know it's a story on who starts and all that sort of rubbish, but it's about the finish. It's about the match finishes. It's about the game winners. It's about the game changers. Every game situation at 45 minutes, 55 minutes, 65 minutes, 80 minutes is completely different. And it's about who comes on, who's got the weapons to utilize in their armory to change the course of the game. We might, if we're 2-0 up and we're under pressure after 65 minutes, he could bring on, hopefully not Disasi at right back, but he can bring on defensive.
Right back, can he?
Oh, he can't. He can't. Right. Okay. So that's a good thing. But he can bring on defensive reinforcements. He could bring on someone else to shore up the midfield. If we're 2-1 down with 20 minutes to go, he can bring out the cavalry. He can bring Asensio and Marlon on. He could bring Watkins on or Rashford, whoever doesn't start. He's got so many different changes that he can make. And it's about who finishes the game. It's most important. So all this narrative about, Watkins or Rashford, I've already said this multiple times. Of course, the player will be annoyed that they're not starting because players want to start and play in every single game. But whether are they going to leave just because they're not in the starting lineup in one
I agree.
game? Like, come on, they're
I
not
agree.
kids.
I agree.
Like,
And actually,
what are you
if
talking about? Like,
it,
if Pep Guardiola puts a player, doesn't play Phil Foden or doesn't play this player, doesn't play that, are they all of a sudden on TalkSport or BBC or so? Oh well, you know, he's going to have to leave because you know he's going up against this player, and I don't know whether he'll want to be here anymore. He's missed. He only came on for 20 minutes the last game. He played the game before, and what's he going to do? It's like, we're not a small club anymore. We haven't got that mentality. Stop going in with that mentality. We're a massive club now. We've got a brilliant squad where we've already said that it doesn't matter who he plays, they can win the game. The players have to deal with that.
It's actually quite disrespectful when you think about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
It is. I mean, again, let's give you an example. Talking about clubs that are nowhere near it right now, right? Man United. You don't see in the media, oh God, Ugarte didn't start, or we played Mainu instead. You know, you don't see anything like that. You don't see anyone saying, oh, Johnny Evans didn't get a start. Is he going to want to leave? You know, you don't see it. It seems to be for Villa because we've upset the apple cart in recent years. They've got to try and cause a bit of unrest. You can't at the same time have arguably the best squad in the league, 18, 20 players, whatever it is, that you're happy with all of them effectively. And at the same time, also not expect that some of the players that aren't starting, because
I know.
you can only have 11
play
players on the
every
pitch.
player.
You can't have a more.
Sorry, Kev. The other part of that is you can't then say that just because though the player that isn't picked on that game is all of a sudden going to leave.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, I don't know if you saw the Mings podcast he did for the official channel. If you've seen it, I had a little listen to that.
I haven't seen it yet. No.
When I was driving earlier, and he actually says, like, you know, he talks about a bit about the rotation and how actually he thinks it's great, and they've got like the squad, and you know, and it's important, and the players are kind of used to it. And I mean, I saw Barkley's reaction, but it don't bother me. I mean, I'm glad he's annoyed. I'm glad he's annoyed. You know, he's been injured for a lot lately, but he's obviously contributed a lot. But what's he going to do at 31 now? When he was at Luton last season, he played albeit not loads. He played in the Champions League quarter-final. You know, he's back in the squad now, fighting for silverware. Yeah, you know what? Like, we've got a lot of fantastic midfielders. So I don't mind seeing that. I don't mind the Watkins interview. As long as Unai, we've got a really great manager and he knows what to do. If the players are good enough, they'll play. If the players aren't quite at the level, then they might get moved on, and that's absolutely fine. And you're going to get the unfortunate situation sometimes where players might be at the level, but they're not quite at the level that the best players are. You know, you're getting past, for example, in Barkley's situation, trying to get past Tielemans, McGinn, Kamara, Anana. It's not easy. It's not easy to play that role. And if he's going to play the further forward role, which I guess he's more now a bit deeper, but then what? You're getting past Asensio, Rodgers, Tielemans.
And the other
expected,
thing
isn't it?
as well, people, and it's obviously a story, right? Watkins against Rashford, and Rashford is always going to be a story wherever he goes, right? He's just going to be the story. But I remember us on this podcast, me and Martin having quite a heated discussion, and people saying Watkins should be dropped. He's not good enough. Get him out of the team. Blah blah blah. He misses way too many chances. Not us chatting. I'm talking about in the chat, right? In the comments. Now, I was of the opinion we ain't going to get anyone better than him, and he's a good player. We should keep him. That doesn't mean that he should be playing every single game. We shouldn't have pressure on him and have rotation and all that kind of stuff, because every player needs to be kept on the toes. And you could argue that Emi Martinez hasn't been as good this season because he hasn't got someone keeping him on his toes. He also, but you can't have it. You can't have it both ways. You can't now be saying no. Watkins has to start every game now because he's had a couple of good games. You know, he had a brilliant display against Newcastle, and he had a good 25 minutes against Southampton. You can't now say he has to play every single game because Rashford scored 2 goals against Brighton. He scored against Man City. He scored against Preston. So, like, what are we doing? Like,
yeah. Well, if you play it like how some of the media might expect it to play, right? So we're now going to play. We're not going to play Watkins every game now at number 9. Jacob Ramsey's going to play left wing because he's been pretty good there. Rodgers is going to play central because obviously he's good there. And let's say we're going to play McGinn on the right, or Rogers right, McGinn there. So that means Daniel Marlin's going to be annoyed because he's signed in January. He's never going to play. That means that Marco Asensio, who've signed on loan, is now not going to want to join us because he's not playing at all in the team. It means Marcus Rashford's not going to play. It means Ross Barkley's not going to play, etc. Leon Bailey's not going to play, etc., etc., etc. It's just madness. It's a non-story. There might be one player in the midst of it all that thinks, you know what, I'm going to get more first-team football. But they'll be having all of these conversations with the players. They'll be speaking to before, saying, "Listen, you're part of my plans. This is what I want to do." Or, unfortunately, like you had to do with Andres Garcia and Daniel Marlon, you're not going to be in the Champions League squad, lads. I'm really sorry. And that's not but I'll give you. It's not like you'd get with like a kids manager. Oh, but I'll play you in the next friendly. Don't worry. It's elite level football, and you're absolutely right, mate. We're a massive club now, and we've done some fantastic stuff. Do you know what I mean? We've really proved ourselves in recent times. We shouldn't be getting involved in this whole, is this person happy or not happy? People should be absolutely delighted to be at this club in the moment in time that we're in. And if that means you only get to play, I mean, my God, look at some of the players in this team that we feel have been bit part players, and look at the amount of appearances that they've had this season. I mean, think about players this season, right, that we think have been, oh, he's not played much. Is he going to be happy? I'll give you a perfect example, right? Ian Matson, right? He's played 25 league games. He's played 40 games this season. I know some have been off the bench. If you asked most people out there, Luca Digne has been pretty much ever present for Villa until lately. Maybe Matson's played a bit more. He's signed for big money from Chelsea. Is he going to be happy? He's played 40 games for Villa this season.
Yeah.
Barkley played quite a lot before he got his injury. Quite a lot. I know obviously he was out for what he was meniscus, wasn't it? So he was out for, was it best part of 3 months, was it?
Yeah, he'd been out for a while. He couldn't shake it off, could he? But yeah, I mean, I absolutely agree with you. And look, we have to get used to it. And I also, I don't mind if players get sold. It really doesn't bother me. This is the whole point of having a club that is operating at this level. If you get a great offer for a player, you sell him, and then you can buy other players that have equally or better reputation. We've got a transfer policy that signs rough diamonds, players over 18, 19, 20 with first team experience that Unai Emery can turn into much better players. And he's done it a few times already for Aston Villa. So I don't mind, if ultimately Ollie Watkins does go, okay, it will be a big loss. I don't actually think he does, but
yeah, well, just to back up the point, mate. Back up the point. Barkley's made 25 appearances for Villa this season. Amadou Onana has made 30 appearances for Villa this season. These are players that aren't first choice players in the team. Onana maybe sometimes. If you've got a squad, the kind of squad that we've got, and you want to compete at the latter end of European competition, you get to the latter stages of a cup, like we've done, you're going to be playing a hell of a lot of matches. You need to rotate the squad. You need to utilize the players, and that's not our job. It's Unai's job to keep them happy. And if they're not happy, then he'll move them on. No problem.
Yeah. That being said, I do hope that Watkins does start tomorrow against Crystal Palace. As Kevin said, you don't leave your best forward on the bench, especially in an FA Cup semi-final. And
I agree. Although we did leave him on the bench for a Champions League quarter-final.
He did. And look, right, second half in that game, Rashford was scintillating, absolutely scintillating. But yeah, I think Watkins does get the start tomorrow, and I would definitely start him. And maybe even try the Rashford off the left, Watkins through the middle if he can. If he can do it, I would be interested to see if he could. But yeah, I do think, I could understand why Rashford started against Manchester City, but I do hope and I think Watkins will start against Crystal Palace. I really do.
I hope so too. I hope so too, mate.
Yeah. Guys, in the chat, please do start getting your score predictions in. I'm going to get Kevin's in a minute. Please do smash a like on the video. We've just passed 200 in the chat on X and on YouTube. Follow us at Villa Park Pod and at KTAVFC for Kevin's X channel, X page on X. He comes out with some good little talking points, so he gets the conversation going as well. So please do follow Kev on X if you're not already. What scores are we getting in so far? Adam says 2-1 Villa. John, the Belching guy, says 3-1 Villa. Deco Blanco says 3-2 Villa. James says a clean sheet. So what's that? Is that a 1-0 or a 2-0, James? What are you saying?
It's a 0-0 penalties win, I think, for James.
Okay. I don't think I could cope with that.
No,
NUF Mighty Mag. Oh, I can't get on the bloody thing. Just there we are. Mighty Mag, NUFC Talk TV says Villa 5-0. Mate, I would be absolutely buzzing off that. I think all the pubs in London would be drank dry with Villa fans if that was the score. Lewis is saying 6-2 to Villa. We are the away team.
Come on, Lewis.
Again, 3-1. Says Sayer, VFC, Watkins, Rogers, Asensio off the bench. Gary says it's tight, but 4-1 Villa. Michael says Crystal Palace 1, Aston Villa 3. Dream Villain 3-0 Villa. Watkins hat-trick to smash Gabby's record. Kevin says we'll win. That's my scoreline. Okay.
I don't think that
a little bit more.
I don't think that would count for Gabby's record because it's Premier League goals, isn't it, for the record?
Yes. 2-1 Villa, says Luca.
Yeah,
it wouldn't. It takes him, to 17? It'll be at least 17 goals for the season in all competitions, which would be pretty good.
Yeah.
So what are you saying, Kev?
I think it's going to be 2-0 to Aston Villa.
And who's getting the goals?
I think there's going to be a clean sheet. I'm going to say... is it Premier League goals? I'm just thinking for Watkins. It's Premier League goals. It is, yeah. I'm going to say it's going to be Morgan Rogers, and it's going to be Marcus Rashford.
I like it. I
don't know why I've got a feeling we're going to keep a clean sheet, and I think it'll be normal time.
Ming's back in the side. If he's playing, we keep a clean sheet, mate.
Yeah, you know what he's like. It's a bit of a no-brainer, isn't it, really?
Yeah. Adamski, 5-0, absolute carnage. Brainley Brian says Rashford will start and we win 2-0. Standing on the word says 2-2 Villa win on penalties. Lewis says he got the Newcastle score right, so he must be onto one. Onto one. Michael said he had a dream that Olsen would save a penalty. Yeah. I don't know if I could cope with that. No, I'm gonna say Crystal Palace 1, Aston Villa 3. Ollie Watkins, Marcus Rashford, and John McGinn with the goals. Who do we face in the final if and when we get there?
Manchester City.
So you fancy City against Forest?
Yeah, and I think it'll be Pep Guardiola scratching his face to bits, Jack Grealish crying, getting tears in his curtains. That's his hair, by the way, not his actual curtains. Although he maybe used his curtains. Anyway, we digress. And I, do you know what? I kind of hope it is City, because to win it by beating the best team in the recent years, a team that we've never, listen, when we played him in the Carabao Cup final, I looked at our team earlier for that match, and even people on our bench, it was staggering. Some of the players, that were on our bench that day, like Lansbury, Smatter started the game. Engels kept Konza out the team. It was a world away from where we are now. So I think that I know we've beat him in the league a couple of times at home, but let's not get carried away. Let's not push it too far. But I would like it to be a comfortable win tomorrow, but you never know with Villa. Probably goes to
as Marzi said, let's not get too cocky. And look, as we know, both teams will be a little bit nervous, not wanting to make a mistake. And as you said, Kev, you just hope that we go out with that, use that to try and get that extra motivation and control that and be controlled in the game, but not sluggish. You want to be controlled, but you want to still have a lot of forward momentum. You want to have a real objective to what you're doing. You don't just want to pass the ball around for the sake of passing the ball around. You want to be going forwards, moving forwards, attacking them. And as we say, if we need to, call on the substitutes, call on the cavalry. You know, if we're 0-0 or 1-1 or even 2-1 down or something, we know that we've got players on the bench who can change it. And the crowd, we really need to bring it tomorrow as well. We really need to make sure we're as loud or as we've ever been, louder than Crystal Palace.
Mate. You know,
you think about the Newcastle fans against Liverpool. It was a no contest. It was no contest. The Newcastle fans roared that ball in the net in that second half. Yeah. So we've got to do exactly the same, because Crystal Palace fans will be well up for it. They've not seen their team win a trophy.
Yeah.
You know, so we've got to be as special as we made it against PSG, as intense as we made it against Newcastle last weekend. We've got to bring that same energy to Wembley tomorrow.
I'd love to see a confident statement win as well, like the kind of win that makes people go, you know what, Villa have dealt with that, dispatched that team. I know it doesn't work like that always, you know, and things can be a bit nervy. You know, football is a funny old game, as someone once said. You know, good old Jimmy Greaves, and it's so true. And it could easily be penalties, extra time. You know, it's a big occasion. I think it can happen. But I'd like us to show the kind of team that we are tomorrow, to act like the kind of team that we are, and to dispatch a team that are lower than us in the league confidently. A team that we've got a better squad than, that we've got a better manager. And I just want us to go out there to show what we're all about, because then we can take the momentum from that to go into the next league game, can't we?
We can. Well, like I say, I'll be there tomorrow. Please come and say hello and yeah, talk about the game, talk whatever. We'll have a drink and we'll chat about the Villa. Hopefully before, if we chat about what we think the game's going to be, and after we could be celebrating. So yeah, amazing. Hopefully it's an amazing occasion tomorrow. We'll also be back with a match reaction, maybe on location if I can find Martin, if I can find George. We'll probably try and do something on location as well. So that would be great.
Rich, you might need subtitles after all the beers.
I know. We'll see. But then we'll be back with all shows next week as well, talking tactics, fans forum. We haven't had a fans forum for ages. That'll be back next week as well. And preview for Fulham back in the Premier League. So make sure you stay tuned to the channel. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Help us continue on the road to 6,000 subscribers. Thank you for watching. Hopefully next time we see you, we'll be in the final of the FA Cup. And as always, remember, we'll follow the Villa. Come on.